I'm really excited for today's video because we're going to be making some trap soul, something that you can hear artists like Bryson Tiller on. We're at 82 for the BPM. For the first time, we're using piano 3 from my Loveless Analog Lab bank. As I always say, this bank was curated for this style, so if you're looking for 50 presets perfect for R&B and trap soul, this is going to be the bank for you. Let's get into this chord progression. So before I mess with like velocities and timing, I am going to do a few inversions, but just to explain these notes that are outside of the scale, as you can see here, this one is actually a dominant 7th chord. So to give us more of that R&B feel, I took the G right here and I actually just sharpened it. And then over here, if I bring down the C to the normal C, and then I bring down the F to an E, it sounds like this. And then I went ahead and sharpened this from C to C sharp and the E to an F. And then we get more of that like R&B feel to it. So now let's go ahead and do a few inversions. Let's actually bring this F up 1 here, and then we'll bring up the G sharp. So we're just bringing up the 3rd of the chord. So now we have this. And then we'll have that loop back in over here. I'm gonna mess with some of the velocities, timing, and make sure these like are a little bit longer here, a little bit shorter over here. So I'll go ahead and skip forward and then I'll explain what I did. All right, so now the velocities are sounding good. You can see the notes are a bit longer. I also added in like a nice little strum right here. To easily strum, you can just hit Alt S. So now this chord sounds like this. So the chord progression is duplicated over here again, but for the last chord, it's just a variation of this one. So let me show you real quick. Bring this over here. And what I actually did was drop down the G 1 octave. So control down arrow here. And now you'll see it lined up there. As I mentioned, I sharpened that E to the F, but over here I flattened it. So I went back down to the E. Now we can move on to layering in the next sound. On piano, I added in kickstart, which is going to give it a little bit of a sidechain feel. I went with the first preset right here called free punch. And then I went with a quarter note, brought this down to 43%. It's just an easy way to add a sidechain to it. Then I copied the chord progression into another instance of Analog Labs. We're inside my Gloom Analog Lab bank. We're using pad 3.1. This one's really for like darker type of beats, dark trap beats and stuff, but there's like really good pads in here as well. And this pad just actually fit perfectly with that first piano. And then we layer it in. We'll turn these down a little bit. Let's go something like this maybe. Layering always sounds good with these beats. You usually will see me have a piano, start off with like a piano or something, and then layer a pad. Those two are definitely like the first things I reach for. All right, so the next pad I got is pad 4. I also ran it through a little bit of processing, which is an EQ cutting out some low end, a whole bunch of high end, and then another kickstart, but the mix is actually up to 100% on this one. So by itself sounds like this. So you can see that's going to add like a nice little bounce to it. We already have a bounce going with the other one, but that kickstart being at 100% is just going to give it a little bit more. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and add a lead to this before we get into the vocal. I'm gonna go find a vocal real quick and then we'll jump back into FL. All right, so this is the vocal I found. It's not in the exact key that we're in, but there's a few phrases that work that I'm gonna probably cut out and chop up to make it sound good. So first thing I'm gonna do is go over here and we'll go to time and we'll bring this out to 8 bars here. Let's go ahead and put this on stretch. We'll also bring down the volume so it's not too loud. What I need to do is cut this right here and then go over here. Actually should have stretched this later. And we'll throw a stretch on and I'll hold Alt. That might actually work. Let's cut this part out. Let me turn stretch off real quick. Do like a fade in here. Maybe I could take this part over here, do the same thing. Where does it line up? Something like this, right? And then over here, maybe get rid of the first part and just have like that second part. Real quick, I added a very big reverb on it, Valhalla Vintage reverb with like a 6.5 second decay time. What I want to do is have that reverb kind of fill out all those spaces, because we do have spacing here, here, and here, and you'll see later when we like add in the drums how you're going to kind of get that like Bryson Tiller bounce to it. So I definitely don't want the vocal being too crowded, but I want that reverb to just kind of fill it out. All right, next thing I'm going to do is actually duplicate this over here. Let's just clone it, and on the second pattern I'm going to create a reverse, and we'll just hit Alt Y to flip these because we're going to reverse them. See me do this a few times. Control Alt and then C, and let's go ahead and export this out, and then we can go in here. Let's reverse it. Let's actually put it on like Stretch Pro and bring it down. Let's see. Let's throw some effects on this. Inside Shaper Box 3, I found this soft motion preset, and I just kind of left it as is. Then I added an EQ, cutting out a whole bunch of low end, did a mid-range cut, and then shelved out a whole bunch of the high end. I want this tucked in the back, and I'm probably gonna like pitch it up or something by a whole octave and just layer it with what we already have. So I exported the melody with the vocal, but I left out the lead, which gives us this one right here, just so I can mess around with like the pitch. So let's go into here. Let's throw this to stretch. Let's just bring this up by 1 semitone. And then on this one, I'm actually gonna bring it up by a whole octave. This is only gonna let us go up by 12. We need to go up by 13 since that's up by 1. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's go up to range. Let's put this to 13, and let's just bring that up there. So I also added in a percussion. I really like how this is coming out. I'm excited to show you it, but let me explain this part real quick. So this is a percussion loop from Splice. I just kind of chopped it up a little bit, and then I also ran it into the effects processing on 4. So put that all together before we have the drums, and we get this. That spacing when we add like the bass to it and the drums, it's gonna go crazy. For the bass, I chose sub 6 from Loveless because it has like a nice top end saturation to it, which sounds really, really good. All right, so now we could jump into the drums. All these drum sounds are from my Broken Hearts drum kit, except for LSR Kick 15, which is from Resupply. So if you're interested in any of these drums, there'll be a link to the drum kits in the description. So let's go ahead and start off with the hi-hat and the snare. And the snare is going to be real simple, but watch when we add it in, it's going to add so much bounce. Ooh. Let's place another snare right here. Then for the cymbal, we could just go here and here. Get that one quantized. Bruh. Then for this percussion right here, I feel like it could be layered nicely on one of the snares. I like to do this sometimes. Ooh. This is fire. All we need to do is add the kick to this. I really like that percussion added right there. All right, the best part. Let's get this kick going. Let me turn record on, move this out the way. That's hard. Last thing I want to add in is another percussion in here. It's like a reverse one. This one right here, reverse 2, or my bad, perk 2, not reverse 2. I gotta figure out somewhere to put this, but I like to like take this one, throw it on stretch, bring it down a whole octave like that. But let's turn it down more. I also want to throw it into effects 4 or mixer channel 4. Ooh. That little part adds so much to it. So let's go ahead and hear it from the beginning real quick, and then I'll go ahead and arrange it and play the full beat at the end. But I definitely just want to hear this from the beginning. Ooh, that perk. Yeah, I could for sure hear Bryson Tiller on this. As always, appreciate you watching. If you're interested in any of the kits used in today's video, there'll be a link in the description. Make sure to join my Discord. There's also a link in the description. I'll probably end up posting this loop in there for everyone to cook up with. But regardless, come join us over there. Let's hear the full beat.